Hello, everybody, and welcome to this very special episode of Business Growth Secrets. I'm with Sian Gabbidon, who was the Series 14 winner of The Apprentice, business owner, has run a brilliant clothing brand, which has just recently launched in Asda. She's transitioned with that clothing brand and built up a fantastic business. She's got an awesome story, and I'm looking forward to getting to know her and hearing more from her about her journey in business and all the things she's done. So welcome on, Sian. Really pleased to have you. How are you, my friend?
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm great. I'm ready for Christmas. So yeah, feeling good.
Yeah, are you actually ready for Christmas? You are,
No,
yeah?
not really. No, not really. I'm very last minute with everything because the business just comes up
That's
first.
what I was going to say. I don't
I
know
know.
many business owners that are ready for Christmas, but that's, you probably, I know that I'm not, it's something that is
Last
difficult to
minute.
get arranged when you've got everything else going on. But yeah, welcome on. Really, really pleased to have you on and wanting to
Thank
hear
you.
more and more about your story.
Yep.
I've read lots of different things and got to know you through the media a little bit before we met today, and
Yep.
wanted to kind of really go on your backstory. I mean, Business Growth Secrets is all about the audience, showing them and serving them and helping them to find those little nuggets that are going to motivate them, inspire them, keep them going. And I think you've certainly, during your career, certainly a very inspirational woman that I think people can learn a lot from. So do you want to introduce yourself, go back right to the beginning,
Yes.
tell us a bit about you and a bit about how you came to be where you are today?
Yeah, definitely. So I pre-apprentice, because everybody just knows, well, everybody generally knows me from being on The Apprentice, but I set my business up, I think it was about a year or two before The Apprentice. Very, very small scale and very organically. It wasn't a set plan as such. It was that I went to uni, I studied fashion design, and I wanted to do something creative. I wasn't even sure what it was that I wanted to do, to be honest. I just knew I loved design and I loved drawing, and I learned how to actually make clothes. So when I finished uni, one of the tutors actually at uni was basically like, if you don't move to London, you can't make it in fashion. But I couldn't really afford to move to London. So I was like, well, I'm going to just stay in Leeds. I'm going to get a job in marketing and I'll just do my creative thing on the side with fashion. So that's exactly what I did. Yeah, I started to work actually, ironically, for Asda in their like marketing department.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, but because their head offices are in Leeds, where I'm based. So worked for Asda. Didn't particularly love it. It was very, same kind of thing every day. And then on the side, I was just making bikinis. And the honest truth with bikinis is I decided to do bikinis originally because they were very simple to make on a sewing machine and I could do everything myself single-handedly.
Nice.
So I started making, and I did feel like at the time I was going on holidays, going to pool parties, and the options for swimwear were very minimal. So I was making these bikinis, and then I set up an Instagram page just as a more like a personal page. I was posting pictures of the bikinis, and it started to get loads and loads of interest. And we eventually got like, I say we, it was literally me at the time, but we had like stylists and celebrities messaging saying, oh, can I have this bikini in this color and in this size? And at that point, I was actually like, okay, well, maybe I could actually monetize this and start to make a little bit of money on the side whilst I'm working. And that's what I did. It just grew into a business from there because once we got some big influencers wearing it, we had a girl who was in Towie at the time and she was really big and well known, made her all these bikinis. I had no idea if she'd even wear any of them, but she did. She wore one in, I think it was in Dubai. And as soon as she wore it and posted, that was where I'd say it became a business because everything just went crazy, I guess, at the time.
How did you cultivate that concept? Oh, my sound's a little bit going there, but hopefully that's all right. How did you cultivate that contact? Because this is the thing, a lot of people listening to that story, being that I know a lot of the listeners and some of the listeners that listen, they're at that early stages. They're looking for a breakthrough like that. But what I'd be really interested is how did you kind of get that breakthrough? Was it the quality of your product? Was it the fact
I
that the
think
product was absolutely awesome?
I feel like it was a bit of a mixture, to be honest, because I think at the time Instagram wasn't like it is now. It wasn't where you're paying for ads and all that kind of jazz. It was very organic at the time, so people saw what you was posting. And I think because I went down that swimwear route, it did make the product a little bit more unique and give it more of a USP. And at the time, you had your big stores like your Top Shops, but they didn't do it was like you'd buy a set that was one size, whereas I did different size top, different size bottom, and we did reversible and multi-way and all different kinds of things that were like one-off pieces. So I'd say that having that kind of USP and having Instagram as the platform it originally was is what helped us, because it wasn't even us reaching out either necessarily. Sorry, there's someone just knocking on the door. Give me 2 seconds.
No,
can we cut bits out?
Okay, of course we can.
2 seconds. Sorry, I'm on my own today. Oh. I'm gonna call. Thank you. Oh. Yeah, we everybody's working from home, you see, but I'm in the office. I'm only round the corner. Right, okay. Let me start again. So where was I?
I think we were at just, you were saying you were at the point with Instagram where it was kind of fresh, you know, it was new, and you were sort of getting that out there. And actually you were talking about the reversible as well.
Yes.
You were saying that you had the different options. And I thought that was really interesting what you were saying there, because did you go into the market saying, you know, there's a problem in the marketplace here, people can't get the sizes they want, and I want to offer something different? Does that your mentality?
So originally I started making bikinis because it was easy to do. Then when I started to get the interest and I started to actually properly plan ranges and work out, you know, how to get the product to market, that was when I was like, there's actually a major niche here for this type of product. And for the one thing that we, even now as a loungewear brand, you know, we do still sell swim, but we're all about making women feel good. And at the time I wanted to just bring a product that wasn't like set for all shapes and sizes, as in we made, you know, high-waisted and low-waisted. We just made bikinis that we wanted girls to feel good in, and our motto is more of a, if you feel confident wearing it, wear it and don't worry about what people say, rather than like you should cover up or you should wear, just like wear whatever you want and, you know, make it look good. And then I think having it multi-way and having it reversible, it just gives that more of a sustainable element, which is massive now, you know, in fashion. And it lets people make the product their own. So, you know, back then, you might have the same bikini as someone from Sian Marie at a pool party, but you wouldn't look the same because you'd be tying it up a different way, or you'd be reversing it so it's a different print. So we tried to just tap into a few different areas to, I guess, to fill a gap, and to just let people do something that they'd not normally done with bikinis before, you know?
Yeah, and also that really gave you that big differentiator in a way, I suppose, did it? You know, and people know that. Yeah.
It did, and back then it was major for us because it was almost like we weren't the first to do it, but we probably were. In some ways we were just small scale at the time, and it's harder, you know, now I guess with fast fashion brands, they just churn out stuff every single day. But I think for us, even where we are, you know, as a brand now, we still have that element of we're not fast fashion, and that's not what we sell ourselves as. You know, we want you to buy a piece and keep it forever, and it's an investment piece in some ways, you know, buy one, swear forever. So that's kind of, it still sets us apart, and it still makes people want to buy from us. The quality, the finish, the craftsmanship, that's what we, you know, we're all about. It's good quality, it's going to last you forever.
The way you talk about it, it seems like there's a good passion there, right? You seem
Definitely.
You know, you're proud of what you've created in terms of the fashion wear. And
yeah, I am. And I like that my story is not like a conventional business story in a way. You know, I never sat and said, right, I'm going to set a business up today and these are my budgets. And it wasn't like that. It was completely different. And then obviously being on the Apprentice and getting in the position I'm in now, it's such a different world to be in. But, you know, I started off very, I guess, what's the word? Very small scale, no investment and no money. So for, you know, for people who are interested in starting business or have just set up, my story is very organic. You know, I didn't get a huge investment to begin with. Like people think that with the Apprentice, you're just instantly successful. I was running my business. You know, I was working full time as well in the beginning. So I was working full time in marketing, getting up 5 o'clock, sewing bikinis on a morning, taking them to the post office. It was just a very.
About them doing that. Was there ever a time when you were a bit like, oh my God, or was it the passion that carried you through? Or did you ever have did you ever think, oh, why am I doing this? Or were you always just like, I just so want people to wear my stuff. I just want to, what was your mindset like?
There's someone else here again. I'm going to just put a note on the door now. I'm so sorry. Honestly, there's never even anyone normally comes.
No, that's all right.
Ah. Left a note, so we'll see if anybody reads it, if anybody else comes, but hopefully they won't.
Oh, cool. So I was saying, what was your mindset at, like, at that point? Were you just so passionate about it that you didn't mind getting up early in the morning? What was
Yeah.
it was like?
Do you know what? Once I realized this was actually becoming a business now, and this was something I could make a little bit of extra money from, and it was something I definitely enjoyed doing because it was, you know, it's what I chose to do at uni. It's my passion. Getting up early, even nowadays, you know, I don't really mind doing it. It's what I enjoy doing every day. Getting up early, I miss a lot. You know, as a business owner, you sacrifice so much, and for me, it's never like, oh, I'm gutted, I can't go to the party, or I can't go. I always just think about my future, what I'm doing it for, and at some point, I'll get all that time back, and I'll be in a good position.
No, that's great. And how did working at Asda in marketing influence you? Did you actually learn some bits about marketing? Did just being in the conversation help you, you know? So I always say, I've got a young nephew, and I always say to him, get into marketing. You know, that's what I kind of say to him that he should, because marketing's had a massive impact on my life. And once you learn it and you're in the conversation constantly, it definitely helps you, doesn't it? In terms of what did that spark ideas or?
Definitely. That's why I chose marketing. Part of my degree, there was a really small part of it that was marketing. And I was actually expected a 2-2 in my degree. And I think I was at a 2-1 with the design side. You made a collection and then you had a marketing side. Nobody cared about marketing in my class other than me. And I thought, well, this tutor, poor woman, everybody hated the class except me. So I literally spent so much time on my marketing section that the grade was so high, it bumped me up to a first overall. And there were about 4 people in the year that got a first. So for me, marketing was something that I'd always had an interest in anyway. And when I started to work for Asda, I did think it's leave it there. When I started to work at Asda, even though it wasn't necessarily fashion, you know, it wasn't necessarily linked to what I was doing, there were links there in general, the same way that businesses all have links in some ways, even though they're different, you know, it's different sectors.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. So that helps. So then you applied to go on the Apprentice. So what made you decide to actually apply in the first place? What was your mindset behind that?
I am a massive Apprentice fan, and I used to watch The Apprentice every single year with my dad. And you know, we'd watch it together, and I'd be like, "I'd be good on this, Dad. I'd definitely win it." And he used to be a bit like, "Okay, yeah." And then one year, I saw the advert, I think, or I saw something about applying for it, and I thought, actually, I've got a business now. I was still working full time, but the business was going from strength to strength, and I thought, I think I'm going to apply. And I genuinely I didn't do it as I'm going to go on it and win it. It was more just a heat of the moment thing. I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. But I spent a lot of time on the application. I treated it a bit like I was doing an essay, really went for it. And I was very last minute. I think it was like the day before the closing day. I sent everything off. I sent it all off and I thought, well, I probably won't hear back, as anybody would. What are the chances?
Yeah.
And then I did hear back and went and auditioned, and God, even now I can't believe that all happened and that
what was that audition process like for you?
It was a lot. It was grueling, and the whole situation was a lot harder than anything I'd ever imagined. As a young kind of entrepreneur and someone who wasn't bothered about getting up early and working late nights and balancing, being involved in the audition and being involved in the show was a whole different ball game. And it wasn't just physical, it was mental. There was so many challenging kind of parts to it that, even when I think back now, it was a really bizarre time. But I learned a lot about myself throughout everything, through audition right through to being on the show and to winning it now and being where I am.
And why do you think you won? What was the reason you think you came through that process and won?
I think there were a few things really. I think as a person, and you know, for the bits that Lord Sugar got to see and, you know, speak to me whilst on the show, and you know, there were no talking off camera like people think. It was literally what it was. I think because I'm quite calm and collected, and I'd never lost my head, and that was not how I handle things anyway. But then obviously my background is like a very humble, normal, northern, you know, upbringing. We didn't come from money. You know, it is what it is, and I think there were just some connections there with us. And even now, you know, he tells it how it is. That's how he works, and I prefer that. You know, I'd rather honesty and let's just get straight to the point. So I think overall, yeah, we gel quite well together as personalities, you know, and I think he must have seen something in me in the show. I don't know.
Oh, definitely work ethic there, right? Okay, and don't work really hard, right? So how's that changed things then? So you go on the show, you win the show. What was kind of, if we just talk a little bit about the show, what was a moment for you? What do you think was a turning point for you, or a moment where you think, you know what, I think I might actually win this. I've got a shot here. Where did you?
Do you know what? I went in there. I didn't have like a game plan, but I just went in and I said, I'll just be myself. And I think the first few tasks as well, my main thing was I just don't want to leave in the first task. That was like the key. I just don't want to embarrass myself. So I guess to begin with, it was a bit scary because you kind of didn't want to say too much, but then you didn't want to sit in the shadows because you'd have just got kicked out for that. So I kind of weighed up the situations and weighed up the other contestants, because I think for the first few tasks, they help you get through as well. You know, if you go in all guns blazing and you're a nightmare, they're just going to want to get you out.
Yeah.
And then I think I got to a point where it was about halfway through and I had to step up a bit more and be more vocal. And when there's less of you, you know, and there's like 3 of you or whatever in a team, you can't not give input. You have to. But I definitely got to one task. It was the QVC task we did. Oh God, it was a nightmare really. It was like live on air thing. And I was PM and I decided to go for the really high priced item. And it was a massive gamble because in my head, I was a bit like, if I lose this, I'm going to probably go, but I'll go with a bang and I'll have took a risk, you know. And a bit of me thought he probably likes to see people take risks as you do in business. So yeah, I chose these really expensive earrings and they were like $3,000, I think, for a pair. And it was a bit like, if we sell 1 or 2, we've won the task. And whilst we were doing the QVC thing, we sold 1 and we were like, oh my God. And then I think we sold 2 in the end. But when we got to the boardroom, somebody cancelled their order, and the panic then, because I thought, oh God, I'm going now. That's it, I'm going to go. But I think we still won it overall. But of every task, that was the one that once I got through it, I was like, I reckon I could win this now, because I've proved myself and I'm not bothered anymore. Like I'm not scared about making decisions now. You know, I've got to do what I've got to do.
Oh, that's awesome. And how's that changed things for you? Is the audio on my side, is it coming through okay? Can you hear me okay?
Sounds fine. Yeah, okay, sounds fine.
Just a little bit of an echo. So in terms of how things have changed, obviously you went on and you partnered up. I think that a lot of people, the power of TV especially can be very, very powerful for a business. The power of getting your message out through media and getting people to see you and understand who you are and buy into your journey, your story, your personality is absolutely massive. How did that actually change things for you after you come off The Apprentice and you were starting to work in your business? What happened next?
It was obviously, as you can imagine, it was amazing. And to have Lord Sugar and the contacts that he's got and the, you know, the kind of infrastructure that you get, I guess, with the show was amazing. But then it's just a business as well. You know, there were so many changes that we had to make, and there was so much interest that we got off the back of being on the show from retailers. And the business plan wasn't actually even, we weren't planning on offering wholesale. We were just going to do online. And then we got these opportunities that it was like, well, we'd be silly to not. And then, you know, things like that came with new challenges, I guess, and things that had to change in the way that the business was being run, the way that we produced the products, the volumes. Like, it was just now when I look at the business, and God, now that we've moved into loungewear especially, it's a whole different business to what it was. Very small scale, very, I guess easy to manage, a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, but easier to manage. Now there's a lot more branches, a lot more things going on, you know. It's but yeah, I've actually loved every step of the way so far, and it's been a roller coaster with COVID, but I think I enjoy having a bit of pressure and having hurdles in some ways, because it does keep you on your toes.
Absolutely. And you made this change to go into loungewear, right? So I was reading a bit about that, and how's that affected things, and what was that like? Was that a joint decision? That something you came up with? You said, well, I think we need to kind of change here. What kind of happened with that?
So we'd planned to expand and go into new areas, because swimwear was good, but it obviously was quite seasonal. We were a UK based brand as well, so we were trying to branch internationally, but we knew we wanted to bring another type of product out as well. And then when COVID hit, to be fair, COVID was one that I was just initially I didn't even think it'd affect us. It was a bit like, you know, as everybody kind of thought, it was, well, we'll see what goes on. And the bigger it got, the more I was like, this is actually going to massively affect us, because at the time we was purely swim. Yeah. And I think it was March, we just launched a new swim collection, and we started to get people returning it to say the holidays are being cancelled, and, you know, because of COVID. And I started to get a bit of a panic, thinking, if everything shuts down now, what are we going to sell? Because no one can go on holiday. The bikinis were not really like spa bikinis, and they were shut anyway, you know. So it was like, okay, we need to look at some options. And yeah, we always had planned to do lounge, but the way we did it was a lot quicker than you normally would as a brand. But the success that we had, partly probably because of COVID too, you know, everyone's at home wearing tracksuits, chilling. It was one of the best things that as a business we have done, and I guess it forced us to do it quick. But the position that we're in now is, yeah, it's made me realise how much easier loungewear is to sell than swimwear now that I've done that transition.
It's just every day people use
every day, every day, and it widens the market massively. You know, we're still at 18 to 35 as our target market female, but really with loungewear, it's not set to an age group. It's whoever wants to wear it, you know, really. And us being in Asda now, it's just widened us up to.
What is it? Why did Asda get in touch? What did they like about the product, or why did you get in touch with them? Why did you see that as a great fit?
I think what it is with, you know, partly with COVID as well, I think with Asda, you know, it's that realization that you can have your customers go in to do the big shop, but they can also do the clothes shop. The high street is not what it used to be, unfortunately. You know, I love the high street, and as I own an online brand, but I do like to go and buy things physically. And because our products are such good quality, we need people to be able to see them to understand that, you know. And with Asda, it was one of those where they're kind of transitioning into bringing in brands so people can get that overall experience. No one's really in the high street, so they can go do the food shop, do the clothes shop while they're there. And we kind of tick that box of being, we're premium products, but without the premium price, really. And I don't like, it sounds a bit cliche, but I need to find a good way of saying that. Like, our stuff will last forever. It'll last wash after wash. And it might be £35 for a hoodie, but really, that's not bad at all. And I think nowadays, because there's so many fast fashion brands, it kind of changes younger people's perceptions of how they should shop. But we're trying to bring it back to how it should be, really, of saying you don't need to buy new clothes every week. You can buy this tracksuit and it's going to last you. And our colour palettes are quite safe. You know, we've got your neutrals, your blacks, your greys, the colours that you can wear all year round. And I think it just fits in with that. For Asda have other brand in there. They have different types of brands for different markets. And we fit that kind of, I'd like to say like Zara, like a Zara vibe.
Well, look at Zara.
Just yeah, and the products, you know, the products in Zara, the quality of them are fab, and it's not overly expensive. And I guess that's what we're trying to be. But yeah, a bit cooler than Zara, I guess.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So, in terms of along that journey, you've done great in terms of the transitioning, starting off right from the bottom, getting going, using media to kind of propel yourself, and then obviously going out and building the business. What would you say are some of the lessons that you've learned along the way that you could share with the audience? Maybe three really good tips for them on, what are some of the things that they can do as they go and grow their business that you would say that you've seen that you think we could really help them?
I guess there's two ways that I look at it, because I look at it as investment, so small scale. One thing I'm very proud of, and I'm glad that I did, was initially I'm not trying to say you should be working full time, but because I was working full time, it wasn't a panic for me with the business. So for example, I was paying my, bills and rent and stuff, and I could focus on building the business and reinvesting the profits. There was no, I wasn't needing to pay myself a wage or anything like that, and that massively helped us initially to build. I guess, and then when I look at post investment, one of the key things I think, when it's really difficult, because when you suddenly get all this money and you're like, okay, I've got this business plan and I can start spending it. It's looking back now, it's not being silly, and just sometimes I think that you think you have to be working with the biggest company or agency, or when really it's about being savvy still. And I think now especially I'm probably tighter with money than I was pre-investment, because the value of it, and you've kind of been through it, you've tried people that's not worked out, you've spent the money on things that didn't necessarily work out, and now you're really looking, thinking, okay, this is what I should have done from the start. And that's why as a business owner, I think you're the best, especially in the position I'm in now, I guess, where, we're on a really great track with the best we've ever been, giving advice to other business owners, especially in the fashion industry. There's so much that I know now that I wish I would have known even when I first got the investment, but you have to go on that journey, I think, sometimes for yourself, because, you can get the advice, but you'll still do what you want to do. And sometimes you have to hit them hurdles.
That's very true, right? It's very true. And I think that's why a lot of people are so after more of a motivational or an inspirational advice, because they want to just keep going, but they don't necessarily want the actual tactic of what they should do next, because people will do what they want to do. Like you say, I think you've nailed that there. So in terms of taking investment, a lot of business owners, there's a lot of people out there like, maybe I need investment. What do you think about that? Do you think that, having done it both ways, started the business, started as a side hustle and grown it, versus taking the investment, if you were going back, would you change anything, or do you think it's better to get an investment, or do you think it's better to start as a side hustle?
I think I wouldn't change my journey now, because I like that, the way that my journey planned out. I actually think what I like about my journey is I have learned what I've needed to learn, almost not in time for the investment, but once the investment came. So for example, had I have had just an idea and then got the investment and gone with it, I probably would have made more mistakes than the journey I've had. I had 2 years of issues and hurdles and overcoming them, and realizing this is actually what I want to do, because I think sometimes with business as well, I always say to people, before you even do anything, just imagine doing this every single day for the rest of your life, if that's what you want to do. Is it what you want to do? I have so many friends who have said, I'm going to set a business up and I'm going to do this, and 3 months down the line, they've hit some hurdles, and
that's a really good,
really,
really good bit of advice. Is this what you want to do every day for the rest of your life? Because if it's not, then you're going to give up at some point, right? Because the passion's not going to be there. But clearly that was the case for you where it was, right?
And you know what? I think for me, my driver, and it's different with different people and different businesses, but my driver isn't to make loads and loads of money as such. That comes with the success of a business. My initial driver was to enjoy what I'm doing, be good at what I'm doing, and to make people feel good. As a fashion designer, which is what I originally was really, to see somebody wearing my clothes, that's the biggest enjoyment. To get like a good review, or to get messages from girls saying, oh my God, I bought your hoodies and I love them. That's what I do it for. And different people have different drivers, I guess, but that keeps me going. That's what every day I'm like, as long as people are buying a product that they're happy with, then that makes me happy. I'm doing my job right. And obviously, you need
Which
to.
I think is really good. If you've got a bigger driver than just money, you're going to make more of an effort in a different way, and especially if you know, as a designer, that makes perfect sense. So, where's the best place for people to go and connect with you, Sian? Is it best to go and connect with you on Insta, or
I'd say Instagram, Instagram, or I guess LinkedIn, but I'm not as active on there. Instagram, LinkedIn, maybe Twitter, but I don't go on Twitter that much. Or they can just pop on. You can have a look on our website at www.sianmarie.com.
www.sianmarie.com. Brilliant stuff. Or go into a local Asda and see what's going on, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, which is going to be absolutely awesome. Well, we want to say a big thank you for coming on. I think it's a real great insight. I love the fact that you've got, it's almost like two stories, really, haven't you? Like you say, the pre-part, the side hustle, which I think will inspire a lot of people. And then after that, going and getting that big launch, and now, settling into running a much bigger business, which is awesome. So I'm sure there's a lot of advice and help that people can find really useful. So big thank you from me, Sian. Been absolutely amazing.
Thank you for having me.
And I look forward to watching your journey and seeing how much more this develops. I'm sure.
Thank you. Thank you very much.